Hey y'all, so today I'm going to be doing my February book haul. As some of you may know, I am currently on a book buying restriction, so that means that I can buy one book for every 2 books that I read. And in the month of February, I completed 12 books, but one of those was a reread, so I'm only counting 11 of those toward this, so that meant I was allowed to buy 5 books. And then the 11th odd book out will count toward like March as far as books I can buy, so once I read a book in March, I can buy a book because I read an odd number of books in February, if that makes sense. And I did end up buying 5 books in the month of February, and I also went to the library a few days ago and picked up 4 books there, so I will also go ahead and show those in this video. But like I said, I only bought 5 books, so I am keeping up with my challenge. I'm doing fine. So let me go ahead and show you what those books were. So the first 2 books that I got in the month of February were volumes 2 and 3 of the black editions of the Death Note manga series by Tsugumi Ohba. If you've been watching any of my wrap-ups lately, you will know that I have currently completed the first 3 volumes of the black editions, and I am really enjoying the series so far, so I will probably continue to buy more of these and read more of these. But currently I have the first 3 and I have read the first 3, so I have already read the first 2 books that I bought in February. This is the first manga series that I've read and I've really enjoyed it so far. It centers around 2 people, one named Light and one named L. Light is a student and he discovers this death note which a god has dropped, and basically in this death note you write the names of people who you want to die. And Light begins to use this notebook as kind of a way of getting rid of the evil in the world by killing off criminals, and the police eventually catch on and they bring in this specialist named L who is known for catching the sneakiest criminals, and it's this battle of wits between L and Light as they try to find each other out, and it is so interesting, and like I said, I love the series so far. The next book that I bought in February was A Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab, which is the second book in the Darker Shade of Magic series. I read A Darker Shade of Magic back in August and I really enjoyed it, so I'm really interested to see where the series goes from there, and from what I've read on the flap in here, this one seems like it's gonna have an interesting plot, so I'm excited to see what happens. The next book that I got in February was Where Futures End by Parker Peavyhouse. I saw Reagan from Peruse Project haul this and she gave a brief description of it, mostly from inside the flap, and I was immediately intrigued, so all I'm going to tell you about this is some stuff on the flap. 5 teenagers, 5 futures, 2 worlds, 1 ending. 5 people divided by time determine the fate of us all. These are brilliantly connected stories of one world bent on destroying itself and an alternate world that just might be its savior, unless it's too late. Basically, this book is one broad story told through 5 different connecting stories. I'm currently reading this one right now. I've read the first 4. I have 1 more to go. I have to say personally that so far I'm not super impressed. I'm not as intrigued as I thought I would be, but you know, I have 1 more of these little short stories / novellas left, so maybe it'll tie this whole thing together really well, but the concept is really intriguing in this one, and that's what really made me pick this up. So yeah, this isn't a wrap-up, and I haven't quite finished this yet, so I won't go into any more detail about it, but that's really all you need to know about this going into it. It's a really interesting concept, and I do hope that everything ties together really intriguingly at the end. And then finally, the last book that I purchased in February was Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare, the manga version. Lately, I've just really been wanting to reread The Infernal Devices because I've honestly forgotten a lot of the stuff that happened in the books, and all 3 of the books are upwards of 400 and 500 pages, and it just takes a long time to reread those. And I've just been in such a graphic book mood, and I have been getting into manga because of Death Note, and this just seemed like the perfect thing to read very soon just because I'm completely in the mood for it. I flipped through it and I really like the art style, and so I am hoping to get into this one honestly like after I finish Where Futures End. So those are all the books that I purchased in the month of February, so now we're going to change gears just slightly and go into the books that I got at the library. And the first 2 really shouldn't be a surprise given what I just talked about, and those are books 2 and 3 in the manga version of The Infernal Devices, which are Clockwork Prince and Clockwork Princess. Honestly, my trip to the library is actually what got me to buy Clockwork Angel, because I went for a different book, which I'll show you in a minute, and I noticed that these were there, and I was like, oh hey, I've been in the mood for these, and they didn't have the first one, so I just went ahead and bought the first one and borrowed these two. So yeah, I have the entire trilogy in my possession currently, and so I will definitely be hopefully reading these like in the next couple days / over the next week. And honestly, out of the entire trilogy, Clockwork Prince is currently the most mysterious to me because I really can't remember anything that happens in this. Like, I mean, I guess I know the overarching, like, major things, but, like, I don't remember much about this at all. And I'm hoping that this one is just as much of a sob fest this time as it was the first time, because I bawled like a little baby when I read Clockwork Princess for the first time, so hopefully this makes me do the same. So next I have the book that I actually went to the library for, and that is Scott Pilgrim Volume 2, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World by Brian Lee O'Malley. I read the first volume of the Scott Pilgrim series back during my graphic week, and I really enjoyed it. It had such a great sense of humor to it, and I really enjoyed it. So I've been really wanting to continue the series, but the volumes of this are like spread out throughout all of the libraries within my library system, and the one closest to me, which is the only one that's pretty close to me, didn't have volume 2, so I had to like drive not a huge distance, but I had to drive really out of my way to go and find this. So hopefully I will be reading this and then picking up the subsequent volumes around my city because I have to drive to various different libraries to find each of them. But yes, I'm really excited to read this one because, like I said, I loved Volume 1 and I can't wait to read Volume 2 and to continue the series. And then finally, the last book that I picked up at the library was In Real Life by Cory Doctorow. This is a graphic novel that I've had my eye on for quite a while because it centers around online gameplay, and that's something that really interests me. I actually picked this one up kind of on a whim. Like with the Cassandra Clare books, I noticed that the library also had this, and I was like, oh hey, I've been meaning to read this, why don't I just go ahead and pick it up? So I went ahead and I picked it up, and hopefully I will get to this in the next week or so. Like I said, I've been really in the mood for graphic novels and comics and stuff like that, so I'll probably have no problem getting through this sometime in the next week. So those are all the books that I bought / borrowed in February. I'm actually really proud of myself because I did really well at limiting the books that I was buying. In fact, there was a point when I had read a bunch of books and I'd only purchased 3, and I just kind of was sitting there with like 2 extra books that I could buy, and I wasn't really that bothered by it until when Futures End came along, and then I was like, ooh, have to have it. But yeah, I did really well this month at keeping to my book buying restriction, and I hope to continue that into March. Let me know down in the comments what you think of the books that I talked about today. As always, I will leave links down in the description to my blog, Twitter, and Goodreads. Please add me as a friend on Goodreads. I would love to be friends with all of you. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!